Hi everybody, welcome to the Early Morning Keeping It Real show. I'm your host, Keeping It Real, and this is my reality check. It's Friday, folks. Woo, I love Fridays. Anyways, back to the reality check. Today's reality check is going to be about North Korea. Right now it's doing a lot more than rattling its sabers like Kim Jong-il and his father have done in the past. Usually they'll rattle little swords, make threats against the United States about doing this or that, and we put them in check with some kind of sanctions, via the United Nations. But Kim Jong-un just took it a step further and actually specifically threatened striking the U.S. coastline with nuclear weapons, and targets like Los Angeles, Washington D.C., and Austin, Texas. Now that one kind of gets me because Austin, Texas. What's Austin, Texas? I mean, what's so important about Austin, Texas? Why would they strike Austin, Texas? I don't know. Maybe it's the power elite's attempt to take out Alex Jones. That's where he's based, in Austin, Texas. Who knows? But if Austin, Texas was hit, I would imagine that would be the only reason, because the New World Order would want to take Alex Jones out of the equation, because he is a powerful speaking force in this anti-New World Order revolution. So, nonetheless, the United States is actually being targeted by a communist regime that might possibly have the technology to do it, to fulfill its threat. Nonetheless, if North Korea doesn't have the technology to strike us, then the drums of the war rattling is increased enough that there's even talk of a possible preemptive strike against North Korea by the United States and South Korea. Now, preemptive strike, we've seen those before in the past, guys. Shock and awe, that's where we use, not technically nuclear weapons, but we use, the mother of all bombs, Moab, and we do things like shock and awe, but we do have a history of using atomic weaponry ourselves with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, since we are the only country on the planet that's ever done so. So, a possible preemptive strike against North Korea by the United States could quite easily draw in China and Russia, who are North Korea's allies. And since North Korea and Iran and everybody gets along, they're buddies too, and the Venezuelans, and they're all connected, Brazil, and everybody loves, the North Koreans and the Iranians, and they all just kind of getting tired of our shit. A preemptive strike by the United States could easily draw us into a World War III situation, and I guess that's what my point is that it could happen. It's not, you can't think that it won't. You got to think that it could. And are you prepared for it? Are you prepared for it mentally, spiritually, physically, and materially? You would need food to survive, water to drink. If the power went out, if an EMP went up over, the United States and took out the electronic infrastructure of the United States, we would become cavemen really quick, and society would collapse, absolutely. And you would have to find a way to survive. Do you have weapons? Do you have pistols, shotguns, rifles to defend your home, your family, your loved ones? Do you have the food, enough to survive, up to 3 months at least? Do you have medical supplies? If you turn the power out in your house, I think maybe you might want to think about, hey, let's go a week without power at the house. The only thing we'll leave in, no, turn everything off. Turn your fridge off. Turn your TVs and your telephones off, and the internet off. Everything that's powered, electrical, and turn it off. And just try to cope with that in your house. That would be a hard thing to do. Your children would start to go stir crazy because they don't have their Xboxes and their video games, the TV, and stupid shows to watch. A lot of people start freaking out because they can't watch American Idol or Dancing with the Stars or their sports, But then when the food started running out, in about 3 days, that's when society would really take its downfall. And I don't think a lot of people are prepared, definitely not, materially, they don't have the food and the medical supplies and the water to get them through a week, let alone 3 months of a power grid being shut down for whatever reasons. So, and physically, are you in shape enough to run for your life? Most of us aren't. Most of us couldn't run 5 blocks without losing their breath. So you got to think about that. That's a huge one. If you had to seriously run for your life, could you do it? I mean, would you be able to outrun the bad guys? I mean, you don't have guns to shoot them. You don't have, knives and some kind of weapons to kill the bad guys when they come to your house. The looters, the zombies. So, can you outrun the zombies? Probably not. I don't know. I think as a society, man, if shit was to hit the fan in whatever form, whether it be a nuclear strike by North Korea, an all-out attack by the Russians or the Chinese, or Iran decides to get a bug up its ass, and its sleeper cells that have been here for 20 years decide to, setting up bombs all over the place, would you be prepared? No, probably not. Most of you wouldn't. Are you prepared spiritually? Are you spiritually prepared for an end-time scenario? And I'm not saying the end of the world, guys, but it will fucking feel like it for a lot of people if you don't have the food, if you don't have the weapons to protect yourself, and if you don't have your spirituality in check. I'm a Christian. I believe in God 100% and always will. So death really doesn't scare me because going home sounds good to me. And I suggest that everybody put their spirituality, find their maker, their creator, and come to grips with him, and make right with him. Because the world is just a crazy place, guys. I mean, outside of tornadoes, earthquakes, and all the other shit, we have to deal with what other worlds think of us. So, I don't know. There's a lot of chaos and shit going on in the world. You got the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, we really could have a rogue government or an entity in our government rise up, and declare all of us, terrorists who doesn't conform. They can shut off currency, and everyone has to get a digital ID, a biometric implant in their arm, and the only way you could get food is if you had this chip, which is a very good possibility, guys. I've researched their chip and implantable identification, and they do have contracts with, the Department of Social Security and the Department of Commerce to implant people with IDs, and it's all connected by a secured network. I mean, they've had that in plans for 15 years. So, and they do have the technology, and they do have the network set up, and they do have the chips. So, there's always lots of things to think about, but being prepared physically, materially, and spiritually for what could happen and what will likely happen in the future is something that all of us should really think about. So, I'm not really sure how long I want to go into this. Like I said, you can see I'm waiting to go to work. And I just want to make a small note because I'm trying to do a reality check, almost every morning. So, with that said, folks, think about it, man. Watch the news. Turn off the fucking reality shows and the Xboxes and all the stupid shit. And don't be afraid to watch the news and do your own investigation into what's going on in the world around you, because not knowing about it doesn't mean it isn't there. With that said, prepare, guys. It could happen. And with that said, this is my Friday morning reality check. Peace.